Are you guys ready to begin? Because I think I am. I think, therefore, I am ready to begin. Hello and welcome to today's stream. I'm Professor Bodhi, aka Mr. Bonny John. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have had a wonderful weekend. I didn't stream yesterday because, as you may have heard, Florida, in general, this area was hit by a hurricane. I wasn't really impacted too much, so I'm grateful there. I hope everyone else who has been in any capacity are doing okay. That said, I didn't want to hop on and potentially be knocked off the internet if the internet was unstable, which it can be during this kind of hurricane season. I didn't really work on much yesterday at all. I kind of took it as part of the extended break from the weekend, since I streamed 5 days a week last week. As you guys know, we're coming on to finishing the two-stage lines for Xotempo. What's going on? Let me say hello to chat before I begin. Hello, Chill Bill. Hello, Shard Laura's here. Mackenzie's here. Rec is here. And Dark Eye. Welcome in, you guys. So, yeah, the two-stage lines are really getting close to being wrapped up and finished, which is very exciting. As you can see on my screen here. Hello, Thunder. Welcome in. And, yeah, all that's really left as far as the non-split two stages are basically today's bug guy, right? And then a hyena. So after that, there will be more of these guys who will need some sort of, care and attention. These will be split two-stage. But any ideas about the bug dude? I have a few, and we'll go over them today. But yeah, so I'm almost there. I have pretty much locked in the final number, which is 111 glorious, adorable, cool creatures for you to collect in Xotempo. But I am struggling as to... while I've gotten a great diversity of creatures, there aren't any object mons for people who don't like that kind of thing. It's less about making people who don't like object mon happy and more like in 111 designs, I'm able to hit a wide variety of creature diversity with barely any overlap. And if anything, making sure those animals and creatures represented, more so the animal side, hasn't been really seen in Pokemon yet. And then even if there are similarities where I can make those differences feel more impactful, and so this is my take on something that's present in this game. Yeah, I guess the only thing, as I keep looking over and trying to make things work, I think it's if you don't like something removing entirely, what does that mean? But yeah, I think at this point the closest, this is the closest I've been to feeling super locked in. Hello, Cross Me Ride. Is I'm missing one more bird line, I think. I have a split right here. This right here is going to be Baba Yaga's house, and then the Bennu bird, and then it splits into the Harpy or the Garuda. In this stage right here, this one is a little more simpler. It's like a mushroom kind of entity that will evolve into a pixie or a fairy. And so the fairy, I'm thinking I can do a hummingbird. Thunderbird, I could potentially do, but we have Zapdos. Now, the bird that I think that I would want to do is probably the Phoenix. And then before someone says, well, Bonnie, you don't want to do Thunderbird, but Zapdos is there, but you want to do the Phoenix, and, the Phoenix is basically Moltres. I would argue Moltres, the Phoenix is more Ho-Oh, but it might be this creature called the Rock. Only using this example, if you don't like pepperoni, just take off the pepperoni. You don't have to eat it, like removing the problem entirely. But what do you mean in regards to what specifically? I've had instincts, from Deadpool and Wolverine, right? But yeah, like I said, I'm sure I'll figure it out. More and more, I am getting closer to, again, locking in. It feels really good. I would say, if anything, there are a few things that I could, maybe say for another region where, because there's a few that don't feel like they thematically fit. But even then, this is a combination of cryptids and mythology that represent me. So that feels good. And there is some sort of internal engine as to how these creatures are being selected and put in. But I do think I'm missing one more bird line. And I kind of have an idea of what I think I need to remove. Anyway, we're going to jump into the art for today. Nice. I do want to see it a second time, but maybe not at the theaters. You said you didn't want to add object mounts because some people didn't like... Oh, yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, that's true. And it wasn't because I did it because I'm like, oh, I know people don't like them, so I won't include them. I just really got to, design a lot of cool creatures that are, like, based on animals. That's all that was, right? I think it'll be really challenging and, even more fun in a future game if there was a wide variety of spirits based on objects, right? A lot of Firebirds and mythologies. That's true. That is true. I was thinking about this bird called the Rock. And in specific, I guess I wanted to do the Phoenix because, I am trying to make this a multicultural region, even though the heavy basis is like an India style and feel. And I don't have too many nods to China and the vast mythos there. Conversely, I was surprised I didn't have a lot of yokai, which I did in the beginning. And that's because there's a lot of yokai, right, that come from Pokemon, but are represented in Pokemon and then a game called Yokai Watch. Hello, Draco. Anything new going on? Not yet, but soon. But yeah, a new Batman show. I do want to see that as well. I want to see the Bear season 3. That might be the only show that's currently interesting me. I tried watching episode 1 of The Boys and I just couldn't get into it, and not because of any the politics. No, it was just more I think the timing of it, right? Is it going to be a Scarab? More than likely. Also, Rook seems more like a second or third. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to figure out what exactly... It would probably be a 3-stage line. And I know who I might want to remove as far as a 3-stage to fit in a bird. Because, again, I want to have a good variety of creatures. And I feel like the birds are really lacking. Which, at one point, they weren't. There was a lot of birds in Xotempo. Finish reading. Gotcha. But, okay, so I'm going to go over the first stage designs that I think I could do, and I'm going to either base it on... There's 3 particular ones that I can do. The Scarab will be the second form, and we, recently got a Scarab Egyptian-style kind of beetle, in the latest generation of Pokemon. And I've talked about, in a brief moment, how we can make, say, a beetle interesting, because Pokemon has quite a few beetles, or at the very least insectoids, and how they handle it. And so I do know I want to make a quadrupedal kind of beetle. So I want to do basically a beetle that's, I love insects. I think they are like the closest thing we have to Pokemon. So when I look at that kind of beetle, it's going to be like a fusion concept because the scarab is seen quite often portrayed with what looks like many feathers. It's got like over here as a, almost like eagle-like talons coming out. I don't think I'll go that route. Maybe I could, just to make it a little more interesting and feel more like a unique beetle. But it's going to be a fun design because, I'm going to play up the colors quite a bit. Scarab beetles do have a really nice, that green, jadish turquoise kind of coloration. And so I have that kind of mythology to go behind, right? Where the beetle of the sun is... There's different ways to go about this, right? Like a beetle could represent a concept, or maybe even say an object, right? Like, so a scarab beetle can be like, it's the avatar of a particular god, right? Kefri in this example. On the other hand, I just kind of want to make a cool beetle, how do I find the middle ground of that? So I'll be going over that today. Let me check out over here with you guys. Harvey Dent, a decent character. When I think of the Rook, can you do Beetlejuice as a Poteno, as a Xotempo? Quadra Beetle, Trilobite Beetle, Beetlejuice is a new beetle. And rapping about beetles, a forklift beetle would be so cool. That's hilarious. That sounds like a very fun, that could be a Pokemon. I might have to make a fake mon about that. But now that we know for sure the scarab is going to be the second form, if there's anybody who wants to start doing some scarab beetle research, I'll go over my usual research. I'm going to go over a couple of options for this first stage. I pulled up a bunch of beetles for examples that I wanted to use. There's a lot of these cool guys. So, we'll get there when we get there. But what about this first stage? Well, there's a few options I can go. Gold digging ant. I kind of like the gold digging ant as a version for this first stage because, quite frankly, when we think about Egypt, we think about pharaohs and mummies and, the pyramids made of gold and shimmering and, ancient treasures. And I kind of like the idea of, when we, again, it's, very typical of the media that we've watched, that, anytime you watch Egyptian characters and there's like an adventure sequence that takes place out in the desert, there's nothing there, but there's something hidden, right? So gold digging sand, there's like a fun little kind of storyline there. And then also, I can kind of use these as basically yet another Indian inspiration for the cryptids in mythology, because it's saying this guy Herodotus claims they were located in India. Well, another bunch of people say, not people, but physiologists said they came from Ethiopia. That's fine too, because I don't have representation there. So a golden ant would be, a nice way to jump towards a scarab beetle, right? Now, there's this other one called the Jinshin Mushi, also called the earthquake beetle. It's a massive insect from Japanese folklore. It's said to be a gigantic beetle with 10 hairy legs, scales, and a dragon's head adorned with a beard. I just want to show this one because I feel like that could be a future creature. I think that's really cool, so I'll move that to the side. It could be maybe a third stage for this guy. And then, this is another, I think, fun option. But basically, there's something called the Adze. Who would have guessed that a firefly is among the most dangerous vampire in the world? In southern Togo and Ghana, the Uwe people have a myth of such a vampire called the Adze. The Adze is a type of vampire creature who turned himself into a firefly or other insect to feed before returning to its human form. They can transform themselves into any number of common insects which are seemingly harmless and very difficult to capture. The odds they have a taste only for the blood of the innocent. They're hunters of children, only children, and they especially like to feed on infants. They can also feed on palm oil and coconut water, will often raid a village's entire supply of these, but they become dangerously weak if they do not feed on the blood of children. And odds they can sustain itself without needing to kill any child. It can take enough blood to survive. So this could be why I think this might work as a preform is if I am going for a Kefri inspired beetle that revolves around the sun. A firefly is a creature with a light source. So I like that idea that more or less it evolves into a creature that from a small source into one that represents a sun, right? I would say that of these, I feel like I like Gold Digging Ant the most. The Odze, don't get me wrong, I like as well. But I feel like the Gold Digging Ant, I could see that being a jumping point. In another region, I could evolve the Gold Digging Ant into the Odze, right? He found gold. Oh, it's not actually gold. It's the light of a firefly. Then that Odze could evolve into the Jinshin Mushi, which is this epic beetle, right? So I just wanted to pitch those guys, or not even pitch, but teach about them real quick. So that's what I'm going to do. Gold Digging Ant for the first stage into a Scarab beetle. If anybody has any other kind of thoughts specifically about how to make a Scarab beetle work, as far as inspiration, yada yada, feel free to let me know. So, portal opens for the Pokemon world. Gold Digging Ant. So now ants are, creatures we've seen a dime a dozen in our lifetime. You might have seen their mounds and whatnot. Now, something like this, they're basically pretty big, right? They're as big as, like, dogs and cats, and they're not, like, particularly interesting visual-wise, which is why I think they make for a better first stage, right? There's not, like, really too much that goes on about their visual design. So I'll read to you about not so much their, I guess you could say the history and stuff. That could be interesting. Story about gold digging ants have been around for more than 2,500 years. People have talked about big ants in a far place that dug gold and made the Persian Empire rich. Some historians thought it was true, while others thought it was too crazy to believe. People in ancient Athens and Rome believed in this story, and even Alexander the Great knew about it. Many people have tried to understand this mystery over the years. Now a group of explorers claim they figured it out. They believe they found the place where these legendary gold-digging ants lived in the Himalayas, up near the Indus River. They're huge furry ants, so we can use fur. First mentioned by Herodotus over 2,000 years ago, are actually big marmots. Okay, marmots are the creatures that inspire palm oil in them. These huge furry ants, right? They're like foxes, but not as big as dogs. These marmots still bring up soil with gold in it as they dig their burrows. The explorers found local people called Minaru who've been collecting this gold dust for generations. So it's pretty fitting, I feel like, then. Maybe they dig up like this ancient beetle, right? Not ancient beetle, but the scarab beetle. So I think it's a pretty fun kind of storyline. All we really have is that they're giant, as big as dogs or foxes, lived in a sandy desert, and they had fur. So using that, I think I can kind of get some sort of visual down. And so basically a baby ant, right? How many bugs are in Xotempo? Let's see. We've got the Mothman. We've got the Scarab guy. There's going to be one more as part of a Pixie and Fairy line. And you can kind of sort of include the alien one, or more so the virus bacteriophage. Fun fact, ants are native to every continent except Antarctica. Makes sense. Ants cover multiple square inches of the ground. Damn. What if we use these gold digging ants as a source of money in the game, but they're rare? Probably not, because they're going to be their own creature. Like, money will be its own thing. As far as a source of money, like, I wouldn't be against that at all. I think that makes sense. Tell your love for beetles based on how many beetles young Durant. How many? Only one, right? Did I do more than one? And hello, Alex. Oh, and the spider and scorpion. True. So, a decent number of beetles. And that's why, again, I'm like, I have more bugs than I do have birds. Which, there are a lot of bugs in the world. There's probably more bugs combined than, like, all creatures or some crazy stat, right? What do you guys... I wouldn't do a Beetlejuice Xotempo, but... what do you guys think it could be? I'm just curious. Just to have, like, a fun conversation about it. Finally, I will get started. I will stop yapping and set up the introduction. I also, chat, may have found a nice 4-stage kind of weapons diamond instead of triangle. It's really cool. I don't know if it'll stay or track, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. Only place ants don't show up? That's true, right? Antarctica. Beetlani stream, indeed, Michael. Welcome in. Okay, so for this one, I think this guy's going to have one of the bigger eye holes. I'm going to... You know what? Maybe its head could kind of look like a cauldron. Maybe that's what this guy is. His head is like a wooden... how all the helms have, So it could be like a wooden cauldron-looking thing. And then, ants, we see them with the mandibles and whatnot. So maybe I can just kind of have it come out just a little bit. It'll still be like a wood carving kind of thing. And it's not going to be proper mandible, right? Just like all the others. It's going to be, maybe if anything, part of the wooden helmet, right? It could also be a cuter... Maybe I'll do something like that. Could be based on those giant ghost worms? Who? Oh, Beetlejuice, yeah. Beetles have been a nice cup of lemonade. Bugs are misunderstood. They're deadly but cool. All creatures are deadly but cool, right? All creatures are misunderstood. A boogeyman sort of thing with Beetlejuice to tie in cryptids? That's true. Oh, the giant ghost worms. Yeah, I see what you're saying, because the true form and stuff. So what's the beta concept of the beetle? What does that mean, beta concept? Big juice box? Alright, let me get the general, I think, body size first. Or body plan, I'll say. And I don't need to be scientifically accurate. Like, I don't think I need to do... You know what? Maybe I can have the mouth opening like this. Right? Does it need to? Nah, maybe not. Maybe I'll just stick it out like that. And just kind of do something like this. And that'll be, like, painted on, That might be better. Honestly, about a Tim Burton, Jack Skellington, Oogie Boogie. Yeah, there is a lot. There is a lot. And Tim Burton is, kind of an instrumental figure in like, films and whatnot. But, I don't know. I feel like those concepts might be a little too on the nose, especially for a third stage one. Like, I could see maybe folding in, say... you know what? Like, for example, if I ever were to do something like that, it would be, like, one stage, right? Where it's, like, you know, or maybe two stage. Maybe it's like a Nightmare Before Christmas um, into a Beetlejuice kind of evolution, you know? Beetlejuice and Bloody Mary, true. Initial concept of the art of the beginning of the stream. The initial concept? I already went over it, I think, but I'm still not sure about the beta part. But yeah, basically gold digging ant into a scarab beetle. That essentially unearths like this beautiful. It's I guess in a way finding itself, right? So let me just keep the shape simple. It can have a big abdomen, I think, although it feels a little imbalanced. I kind of want, maybe it's this kind of shape. I'll do I think I'll give it 4 legs because they describe it as big as a dog, so I think it'll be cute to give it like 4 legs, and it still looks like insectoid, and that's because I'm pretty sure I want my beetle to have 6 legs. So it'll be like a nice thing where it's like 4 to start and then 6 to end. But yeah, we'll see how it goes because there's always room to, you know, figure things out. Could come out at the top. That's true, it could. Deadpool and Wolverine has its own tempo. They started the same thing but evolved into 2 different ones. How do you mean? I did want to at one point make a Wolverine, or I think I said Honey Badger, like way back. But again, I feel like that would fit more of a more medieval time period, you know? Yeah. So, okay, I think this is pretty cute. Now, they did describe them as furry. So, what I think I'll do is, yeah, well, let's make the, maybe this is like a tuning rod, right? What is like, let me look for, is it a tuning rod that finds something? Because I could kind of like fold that into, okay, yeah, so a tuning rod is one like this, and then I'll have it pointed out. Right? Something like that. Is that too much? That might be too much. Mythology could be Oogie Boogie, Conquer Worm, Candyman. Candyman's the guy who got stung by bees, right? I don't really know. I mean, I guess he would have to be a bee guy, right? I guess the only way I would do like a whole bunch of these different kind of like smaller things is if I made a far more, what do you call it? What would you call it, chat? Tightened kind of region. Not region, but maybe like a concept art or like a subsection, right? That to me would feel kind of plausible. Alright, what do we think of this guy right now? I don't know about the cauldron thing. I think it's like kind of a stretch. It would be fun if these guys did show up. Like you found them mostly near you know, the mimic creature. That could be like a fun story building kind of thing. Bon, you lost in Ron's last vid. I know. It's crazy how when you're working on that stuff and you're working under a timer and stuff, how quickly you forget 1,000 different Pokemon. In fact, it's almost like overload. right? When you have that many Pokemon that exist, and all of a sudden, like, you're trying to create a fun design, you're trying to be funny for the audience, you're trying to be, like, trying to be present in the moment. It is very hard. But it was fun. He just postpones his victory? Okay, I'm going to keep that. That's a good word. Could be a loot bag for that. That's true. It could be a loot bag. That is a cute idea. What do we think about this so far? I think I'm going to do a single kind of toe that comes out like this. I don't know if it super reads like an ant. What do you guys think, chat? And it's okay if it doesn't, because it's the first form, and as I've said, it's always like, kind of take on mythology, right? Like I said, I had like Cauldron, which is pretty similar, right? Good host, though. Yeah, you know what I will say? I like that when I was reading through the comments, it was nice to see everyone saying, I got Bastiodon. And I was like, oh, okay, good. That means I did a good job describing the Pokemon, Because some people who played the game didn't, they might have whiffed a little bit. But again, it's, easier said than done, right? Like when you're recording that thing live and you're playing and you're trying to be... And normally I'm like very competitive, but like it was the first type of video on Ron's channel like that. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna like have a good time. I'm not gonna be like super crazy about it and like be my normal competitive self. Like I helped Ron kind of workshop the game as well. And like I kind of knew what to expect going in, but like when recording happens and like you're actually live and there was still like a few things we were like figuring out as we went, which was exciting. But I think, yeah, for sure, like a part 2 would definitely be very fun. And people seem to like it. It just recently crossed 100,000 views. So we'll see. I see a lot of positive comments. People seem to enjoy it, right? Yep, it's an ant. Looks like Auntie to me. Looks cute and cool. It's an ant who eats gold, right? Not that it eats gold, I don't think. I think maybe in the world of Xotempo they could eat it. Maybe that like charges their spiritual energy or something, But yeah. Both start as dogs, and Deadpool becomes a hyena, then mix in a were-hyena, and Wolverine wolf into a werewolf. I mean, with Wolverine, I think it becomes a Wolverine, right? I like Deadpool as a hyena, though. That one's cute. Brain's like, I'm being forced to think of something, so I should probably shut down. It's, again, like, there's so many Pokemon. So at any time when my, like, rivals would say something like, oh, I think I got it, I'd be sitting there, like, shitting bricks, like, what? Like, I'm like, there's a million Pokemon. Like, how could you possibly... And I do also think, and I noticed a lot of the comments say this, like, next time I'm going to be, like, far more ready as far as questions. None of us were really, like, ready for the questions, We weren't asking the right ones. Like, there are, like, jokey ones you could say and do. But after a while, it's just like, at some point, you just got to commit to the design, and be true to it. Because there are different ways to get points, right? It's not just, getting the call, right? Like, oh, you called the right Pokemon, So, I think at that point, right, like, at the end of the day, you're, like, thinking it's important to be, like, a good competitor because that's interesting, but, like, beyond competitor, a good what's the word? You're part of the reason why people join and watch, you know? So that kind of stuff is very important. This guy feels more like a B to me because I made the middle part really fluffy, right? Genuinely, that's good. I think I got 2 out of 4. Bashing and Shaman Sky, nice. I saw the name down there just now, sorry. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, that's okay. If he does a Deadpool and Wolverine September, use the Dogpool and Dog Wolverine from the comics. But yes, it was a very fun, you know what? I don't like the way the silhouette... I'm going to make the abdomen, I think, less obvious. Because I think it'll just do like this. I think that'll be a little better. And this color is maybe a little too... Why don't I get maybe more of a... Yeah, so like a color like that. That way... And then I'll just kind of add this here. Just because when we think of ants, right, we really do see like a lot of black and red ants, or like at the very least, you know what, let me try and get this color. I feel like is more of an ant color. And this might lead more into the gold as well, right? Let's do that. Oh, you know what, it could be like a fire ant, because fire is kind of like representative of the sun. And so then when it becomes a scarab, there's like kind of a reasoning, you know? And we'll do something like this. More rivals Xotempo, like Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, a radio and a TV. A radio and a TV. I could see why they'd be rivals, but I think there'd be a stronger case for other items. Hello, Danny! I hate bugs, but this little one is so cute. Thank you, Danny. Thank you. It's cool that you auditioned to be on channel, and now you two are good friends. I kind of associate you two with each other. That's cute. Yeah, it is a kind of a crazy story, and it just kind of shows you how, like, crazy life can be, you know? Because quite often, there's still plenty of times, no matter what I do, you know, I think the word is imposter syndrome, right? A lot of artists get that feeling. So, we have not stretched yet. Thank you, Danny. You know what? I should probably pre-stretch, too. I don't do that enough. Yeah, I would say that it's all crazy. Everything about this world is crazy when I think about it. You just gotta be good people while we're here. You never know what happens. Let's see. The 2 eye emoji are on different lines. Yeah, who's to say? Maybe she was watching and just judging us all silently. Oh, tell me what y'all think about these Crocs I got. I ordered 2 pairs because I got a good deal. I'm getting the second one later, and I'm going to choose the color that I like better. These look pretty insane. These are called Echo, you know, like the normal variety are like Crocs, right? Clogs. These are the Echoes. They look so insane. They're kind of fire. Look at the bottom of these, chat. Are these a keep? Or should I return? Well, the other one I got is more of like a bone color. This one is like... This is called, I think, Atmosphere or some corny thing. The other bone one is more like a tingy, you know, pale color. And this one's pure white. So this might go with more things. Anyway. I know a lot of people hate Crocs. They're supposedly really... see, exactly, Bon, I hate them already. How dare. They say that until you try them on. Now, so... I had a older pair that I was given that I don't wear a lot. And I don't really see the big deal. But then I tried these, like, Echo ones on, and they're, like, so good. So I was waiting for them on sale. Would a Marvel-based Xotempo be even possible? I think it's way too big. I love Venom too. I think he's so sick. But I think there are ways to do, like, rather than looking, because, like, I wouldn't say, like, when I think of Marvel, I think of Venom first, right? Like, in the modern MCU, or not even MCU, but Marvel Universe, yeah, I do think MCU, understandably, right? And I would probably think Iron Man or Cap. But if I wanted to do a Venom-like creature, I wouldn't look at the MCU to do that, right? There's a lot of cool tendril, ink blobby kind of creatures. It wouldn't have to be the MCU as a source for that, right? Have cute accessories for your Crocs. No, I want to get those little thingies. I think they're called giblets, which are really weird. I don't like that name at all. Okay, I would keep them. They're fire, right? They've been popular for a while, and you know what? A lot of people get them for, like, the doctors, like if they're nurses and stuff. They're very comfortable to stand in and whatnot. I ain't trying to yuck your yum. Yeah, I think of Spider-Man when I think of Marvel. Valid as well, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, Venom wouldn't necessarily be a good fit, right? To be, like, the Marvel representative. And at the end of the day, that's subjective, right? Somebody might think of of Spider-Man. Somebody else might think of this. Somebody else might think of that. As the creator of Xotempo, if I did want to do a shout out to Marvel, I would probably do, maybe like Spider-Man or Iron Man. You know what I mean? Your aunt's really cute. Thank you. I think a Squirrel Girl. See, that's like a C or D list celebrity. Although she is very popular, she is very powerful as well. There's gotta be, and this is a thing, because, like, I can't stand when people are like, no, she's not powerful, she's not this, she's not that. I always just say, hey, listen, the whole point of comics is the characters are always ranging in power based on whoever's writing it, right? Like, people take, like, power levels and things way too seriously, right? At the end of the day, as Stan Lee and many other people have said already, you know, power is basically what's needed to tell the story, right? Again, this fluffy part is kind of throwing me off. That part makes me feel like a bee. You know? But, like I said, based on what I read about the descriptions for the gold-digging ants, I think it tracks. You know? Large blobby tentacle monsters like Lovecraftian entities. What y'all think about Captain Marvel? I think she's cool. Batman under Joker, obviously. Gotta agree. I gotta disagree now. I can't. I don't know, Draco, because I love Superman. I grew up a Batman fan, okay? Shazam was the first Captain Marvel, so true. So, let me see if I can maybe make this part fluffy and, like, the carapace, you know? I guess the design of the second one will really define... that looks dumb. Alright, let's do it like this. Oh, it could kind of have the vibes of my first ever Fakeamon I created for Ron's video, where it's like partially chitinous and partially fluffy, right? Because some insects have fur and hair. So what if it was something like this? Human Torch? Why the fluffy one become smallest and butt become big? Why not? That's why. No, you know what? I'll keep it like this. I'm sure in my second pass I'll figure it out. As far as paint for the helmet... I'll have some gold here, gold here. A Firestorm, it's two separate, that becomes one new one, so that just sounds like a fusion. I could see fusion being a very fun concept in the future. And I was thinking the other day also, like, am I lacking a gimmick? And I was like thinking, well, that in itself, thinking I need to add a gimmick feels dangerous, you know? Because right now, admittedly, I am designing, the art first, right? The gameplay and stuff, like, that'll eventually come, right? Like, for me, the design is what hooks people in from a visual standpoint. If and when the gameplay is made fun, that's when they stay. They're like, okay, now it'll be fun playing these designs that I really like, right? Sumo Bug, I'm Groot Xotempo, which is basically, tree ant or any number of those kind of things. Firestorm is a fusion, that's part of his whole deal, gotcha. Xotempo 2, that would work because you can do a giant to a Groot to a green man, which is basically kind of what I have, actually. Although mine's is Mandrake to Gilly Do into a tree ant. But, yeah, okay. I think this guy looks pretty good, chat. What do y'all think? Is it time for me to jump to the next design? Would Rukishi and... You know what? Like, I think these are kind of the spiritual successors, to be honest. I don't think I would bring them in because they don't necessarily have a mythology that I can really attach to them. There might be, if there's like a god of a sumo or something. If somebody could find ways, I would love to bring them in. But yeah, you know what? Honestly, I would love to bring them in. So if there is a way, maybe for like, it would be more so for Yokabunna, right? And he might need like a new name in Xotempo, but. And that way I have one quadrupedal beetle, and then I have one bipedal beetle. Gillied Groot looks awesome. Thank you. Want him as a pet. Alright. Yeah, he looks pretty good. I'm going to leave him here. Yeah, you know what? The more I look at him, he definitely does feel like an ant. I don't know what I was worried about. I'm always worried. Anxiety never leaves me. Okay, so... Then again, I'd have to knock someone out if I did... Well, no, not necessarily. Maybe I'll bring him back for like a round 2. By Beetle. Pause. In real life, how big would this guy be? I do the size charts at the end, but you know what? For Danny, I would do anything. I would cross the river and the sun and the moon. So let's go ahead and let's see. Let's see how big this would be. So now there's 2 ways to go about this, right? Either I make them huge and throw them off, or I make them really tiny. And I think it's honestly pretty simple. And that's because in the description of the gold ants, they are quite often described as the size of a fox or a dog. So I think something like this would be a very cute size, something that you could really be tangible with, right? I think making it too small as an ant, right, for something like this, like, this would be way too small, right? Like, this would feel like more of an actual size. And yeah, I think that's too small for my taste. A lot of my designs, I want them to feel tangible, right? It would be very nice at some point. Exactly, puppy ant. Myrmidon, ants transformed into tribe of people. Yeah, like, there are a lot of cool ant mythologies I could, eventually really, like, swing into, right? But yeah, obviously this wouldn't make sense. It's the first form. So something like all the first stages have a relatively similar size. I was thinking I could have the Dust Bunny feel really small, because I like the idea that, you know, the Dust Devil starts out big and then it evolves. You know what? Maybe it is something like that big. And if anything, I'm sure it can like manipulate its size anyway. But yeah, most of the Xotempo first stages are, you know, small enough. They need to be like your cute little buddies, right? But let's see. Were any of the things from the book I sent made into the series? I don't remember. That was a long time ago, to be honest. But thank you for sharing those. Also, I realized I have to make my tea like before. I would like have the tea boil like minutes before stream starts, and it would take forever to really cool down in this thermos. The fake thermos. This ain't even the original OG one. The old one had to be retired. But oh, that hits right. I'll quickly, before we jump into designing a what did I say? Quadrupedal beetle. Quadrupedal sized beetle. That wasn't what I said. The quadrupedal. Anyway, I'll show you guys. I know I mean, all I have to do is really fix the top and then I'll be set. Maybe I can just order that online somewhere. But yeah, let's see here. So, as you guys saw, I was trying to do, you know, some sort of weapon triangle. And I was thinking about, like, I've got my classes. How do I make those work? Oh, chat, the quadrital. Chat, let me show you this first of all. I put it on my Tumblr. Oh, because I just read Tumblr. Tumblr was an old website that we used. I have made an updated Dex template, and it is so sick in my opinion. I think I'm pretty much... First of all, it's crazy how I posted this and I shared it before. I was like, oh, this probably will be the like close to the final one. And I like it. It's simple. But compared to this, look how elegant and clean and like it is just so much better. It has more information. I think there's one thing I might adjust over here. Got a blast? Yes, we will stretch soon. Thank you, Danny, for stopping by always. Beetle from Ben 10. I don't know Beetle. Tea or Chauka? Chauka? It's just tea. Tumblr is for drinks too. And all my fellas, hello Rosa. Hello Pokerex as well. Welcome in, welcome in. So here is the new Dex page. Thank you, thank you. I think it looks awesome. It's very clean. It's elegant. It feels like you can kind of tell the world of Xotempo a little better than before. This one, again, I'm not saying it's bad. It's like a necessary step to get to where I got. But there was a lot of things like, you know, symbols in the back and like these kind of like lines. And I really like that. Don't get me wrong. It adds character and stuff. So I might bring something like that back if I can get like, if I develop out my own map properly. But I would say that this being a simple page, there's a lot of elegance in the simplicity, right? Each of the boxes here have their own little grids. I think the only thing I don't like, I like having the Xotempo logo and then the creature name under here. I think it looks awesome. This adds like a nice little bit of pop and branding. You got the number. I see a lot of shinies in a lot of templates, and they make them too small. So I feel like this is like a decent size compared to what I see a lot. And then over here, someone asked me what I would do if it was the first stage, right? So for example, if it was this guy, right? That's not good. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So Xotempo be directed towards a younger audience. I would say probably younger. It'll be like Pokemon where, you know, a younger audience will greatly enjoy it, and an older audience will enjoy and appreciate it as if, as they are fans of Pokemon, that you would likely like this. I hope this monster becomes merch. Really, this guy? It's definitely got a vibe going on. Good. Coco, gotcha. I thought you were trying to say chai or something. Please make concept art and tutorial creating taming monster like concept book. I would love to one day. So let's say his name is Anthology. All right, I don't know. Okay, it's off the top of my head. Okay, Anthology. Honestly, I don't hate it as a name, but anyway. So here's Anthology. He's number 64 for Nintendo 64. If this were, say, the first stage, right? How I would do it is, let me grab a random. Oh, okay. I'll take this right here. Free transform, size him down. It would look something like this. Unless you guys think there's something better and more information that I could put in this box. This is like the evolution box. It would be like Anthology evolves at level 35 or 24. 24? Or it just says, maybe it's just like, oh, you know what it was going to be? So it'll be like, it will evolve soon. Now, on one hand, I don't like that it kind of gives away the silhouette if I did it this way. On the other hand, it would get you kind of hyped, right? So it could be any number of things that I replaced for the first box, but I love the little font. Me too. It's really nice. What's it called if you study a rock? Probably a geologist. Hello, Dingus. Name Anthony. Went to school for anthology. Is that a custom font? This right here is not. This is a... And whenever you guys do this kind of stuff, you have to find true free fonts, right? Like, there's some free for, like, say, personal use, and then free for, say, commercial. Can you release a video explaining the world and stuff? Yeah, for sure. That would be down the line, though. Bond, what's the deck stat? I'll go over that real quick, for sure. Any significance to the color? Which color in particular? Oh, you mean for this right here. Just confirm with me, Rosa, and I'll go over that if that's what you're talking about. Man, the thumbnail, can't believe other people remember. I love Metabots. I used to have the ones that you build up. So I had, what was it, Rokusho, Metabee, and some other guy who, I want to see, he was like burgundy color. Or kind of goldish. We'll be coming up with a new name for terms such as evolution. No, it'll be evolution because it needs to be simple. You don't want to overwhelm people with too many new things, right? If I'm like, there are no types and there's no evolution, there's a reason why I'm not calling them types, right? Because when you hear type, we think of Pokemon and we think, oh, well, one type should beat the other. And since types don't work like that, if I choose another word, it teaches people that, like, oh, they don't work like types because people use types, right? So this is just a placeholder. What this is, the color that Rose is kind of pointing out, is depending on, like, I'm just going to use different colors just to, like, just, you know, make them whatever classes you believe these colors would represent in the final. Normally, let's just say there is all these different kind of colors, right? Well, for the Xotempo, and I'll get like icons and stuff because I don't think I need new things. Indeed, Pookie, welcome in, welcome in. Thighs, new thighs. So basically, whatever the creature's class would be, the other sections would kind of get blackened out. So you could see the symbol, right? So let's say, for example, it was like something like this. You'd be like, oh, this guy is water and grass, for example, right? That section kind of just denotes the class. I would ideally have a symbol for each thing. I don't think it's necessarily needed for each box. Like, you can clearly see this is meant to be for size. This is clearly the stats. This is clearly the alternate palette or the remix form for my game. And then the evolution box. Thunder, yeah. But yeah, that's basically what those colors are. Right now, I know it doesn't make sense because they're just flat, but soon they'll have icons in them, and they'll be, instead of being like completely blackened out, they will be kind of like, what's the word? Like dimmed. So the ones that are lit up are what class it belongs to. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's a very cute Dex page. I think it absolutely kind of sells and tells you the vibe of Xotempo. It just feels like this is its own monster tamer, right? So again, if you guys have any idea what I should put in this top section, right now I have evolution, which I think is an important one because there's two ways I can go about it. Well, let me finish that sentence. Because when you see a Dex template, it should teach you everything about the Mon, right? So if it's teaching you about Quarter Cluster, who I might change to something like Quarter Clash or something like that, you'd want to know how to evolve it in an official capacity. So having it might be something like this, where it just shows the second creature, or like the previous form. And again, if it's a first stage, it'll either have like a silhouette or just kind of like in Pokemon, it'll tell you like, oh, it's getting closer to leveling up, and just build hype, you know? Being raining, windy. If you guys are in a space like me, you know, we just got hit by that hurricane, which again, I'm fortunately more than fine, you know, which is why I didn't get on yesterday. You'll probably feel those residual winds and rains, right? Had a leak in my bedroom due to the storm. Oh man, sorry to hear that. Welcome in, Ascension. Just got here. What's the mechanic with classes if it's not a rock, paper, scissors type deal? So, that's a great question. I've talked about it before, and I will continue to talk about it, until I kind of like hone in on it. So I will discuss that alongside the rock, paper, scissors thing. Tiny bit of rain. Trust me, rain doesn't help here. It just gets more humid, which is gross. But yeah, we do need rain for sure. Minor. Mine and or. That's cute. That's very, very cute. I love that show. So, as we know, I won't go too much into it. The classes, they're more a kind of like in real life sciences of taxonomy, a grouping mechanism. I've been trying to come up with like different words because I don't know if I like class. However, as you guys know, I've been trying to figure out my own like before I was like thinking, is it order, firm, chaos, and flow? And I'm like, I get the vision, but it's not it. I think I may have found it. So, instead of, it might be that these are my types, where as much as I love the idea of making every creature viable, it's super unrealistic. And as far as a gameplay, affinity might be a good one. I do like affinity. I like domain. Truly was a perfect word. It would have to be something like domain, like something that really hones them into a place of being, you know? So this is what I think I'm going to do. I'll like move some of this other stuff so it's out of the way. But do you have a mascot? Chat will tell you that I have a few in mind for a mascot, but I will also tell you that as much as I want certain creatures to be a mascot, it may only come down to the fans, right? Who decide the mascot, right? Like, famously, Clefairy was supposed to be the mascot, right? Exactly. The moment I say domain, it'll be domain expansion, so that's why I canceled it. X infinity symbol, pretty much kind of the vibe I want to go for. Mascot's pants. Hello, welcome in, Squirrel. So this might be your type system, and I was very deliberate. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out symbols that make sense. Hello, Mark. Welcome in, welcome in. So I might be giving all my creatures these types as their main kind of attribute, and then their secondary attribute is the affinity they have, right? Rain might not track. I think of another definition right here, rain. But I'll quickly kind of go over what I think this might be as far as like, getting closer to the final. It definitely does want it to be, it's going to be pants, I think. Antweller. A lot of people watching the stream. Nice. Well, I'm always happy to see everyone. Always happy to have you. Thank you for joining me. I'm just going over type stuff and whatnot. Make sure you leave a like while you're here. Okay, so when you have these four, right? I was thinking about symbology, right? Thinking about movements and as far as why people might make a tamer. What problems are they trying to solve? What is it as far as the design, the gameplay, etc., right? So, to me, a lot of it is like trying to simplify a lot of things in Pokemon, right? Like evolutions have kind of gotten out of hand. There's a lot of types and things like. I just want to kind of make a game that's like really easy to pick up and play, and Pokemon's like that too. I'm not dissing Pokemon. So doing a system where there's only quote unquote 4 types, that's very appealing to me, like something that I feel like I could teach my nephews when they grow up, right? First of all, I'll just show you like a quick kind of definition of why I chose the symbols I did. They might be placeholders, they might change, etc., etc. So, also I wanted this M kind of movement as far as names because it really worked. So you have Might, Moxie, Mania, although I don't love Mania, but it kind of fits, and Magic. Can y'all smell rain? 100,000,000%, Rosa. It's a beautiful. I love that smell. It can be bad, but I love it personally because it also brings out grass for me as well. Is there a term for spirits that could be used for classifying them? That is, I don't know. There might be. There could be. How about you make 3 prototype character, monster prototype for mascot, and let fans decide? I don't want to do that because it would be a tiny sample, right? Like, we're a small group. If I showed you guys and then you guys decide, it wouldn't matter if we showed, I'm like, oh, this is what my adorable fan base has selected. All 25 of them, right? Let's just say. And then I push it out, and if ever got popular, and I would be so lucky. And then, like, the 10,000 other people are like, no, we like this guy far more, and that voice would take over and kind of essentially make it, what I'm trying to say is, just like, a social media company or like a brand or marketing like directive, someone's like, make a meme and make it go viral. You can't. The people make things go viral and popular, right? See, we like it when you cook. Hell yeah. Am I hardcore New Yorker for a second? Guys solve an argument. Remember the old thing I said, 4-star based off the gnome. Could just be mine since it's parallel to Might. Maybe Might, Magic. So I want to tell you why I chose the ones, and then you guys can always make your cases. So first of all, I love the symbols and the imagery. Like, I want to make simple icons that people can see the shape of and like quickly understand it, right? Your dear brother tells you, it's okay. That's what siblings are there for, right? Thank you, Bonnie. Of course. Tempo Ocean. Because tempo is a beat, music, emotion, like emotion in the water. It would probably be Tempo Ocean. But I was thinking of calling these tempos, but I feel like it would simply be silly to be like my Xotempo's tempo. You know what I mean? Alright, so again, thinking about shapes. Might. A fist, square, strong, Moxie, it's all about that gumption, that courage you have, your heart, right? So there's kind of like a diamond shape going on here. Mania. Mania, you're spiraling out of control, right? And then magic. If I'm using a symbol for might, magic as far as a witch's or wizard's hat, a triangular shape. I really love this imagery. I feel like I could plaster this symbol next to a Xotempo's name and you would quickly get it, even at a small thing. And then I kind of love this middle thing, where obviously X for Xotempo, but that it's got 4 lines that kind of like live in between, and it's saying, I'm neither of these things. I am my own thing. I am this thing in the middle. So there's like a very beautiful, simple imagery here that really works for me as well. Even my like diagrams have to have some sort of symbol, right? Could be rhythm. That's true. Which is why I kind of like style. I was thinking the word style before. Even genre. I pitched genre a long time ago. And people are like, oh, it's more for music. Now it's more music-like. Rhythm, I like rhythm, but I can never spell it, and I doubt many other people could on a whim. And I want something simple too. But anyway, so this is my understanding of how I would do it. Where with magic, right? Let's say with magic, I'm going to make it more of a purple coloration. Let's just say. Right? Just a further kind of purple. Might, I think we gotta go very obviously like a red kind of color, right? Maybe more of like a brick red, something like that, maybe. No, let's just leave it like that. Then again, Moxie. With Moxie, I kind of think it's gotta be... No, you know what we'll do? Mania will be purple. Right? I think we make... Magic is like a blue to me. Red is going to be for might. And Moxie is like your vigor. Right? Like your heart, your energy, your vitality. I can never spell rhythm. I'm telling you, rhythm, did I get it right? I think so. So with the final one being yellow. And I quite like, or gold even. And I like this simple kind of setup because it is like very straightforward. The symbology is not only broken down visually into shapes, which are understandable. It fits my vision as far as a triangle. But let me tell you, at the very least, what they... Because you might be wondering, well, Bon, like, I know magic and might, right? But what's Moxie and Mania? Well, recently, my boy Nordist did a video talking about poison types in their... and I posted in the Discord as well. And there's a bunch of you guys in here. Dingus, Wreck, I think Mod JC at one point tried to make a case, and I love it. I love the passion, and not even arguing, but the discussion. They said, Bon, you're talking about lithic, you're talking about typic domain, and cryptic domain, and cultic, and yada yada yada. We want a poison type. We want it now. And I was like, please, put away the pitchforks, all 3 of you. Eye roll. You're a wizard, Bonnie. It was a very fun video because it kind of made me feel like I was going the right way. And that's in that. More or less, mana's used a lot in anime and video games in general. But is Caustic coming back? It's not. Long story short, it's not. And the reason why is, in that video, it kind of affirmed to me I was onto something. Because Pokemon wasn't the first monster tamer. It's one of the more popular ones, obviously. After Pokemon made poison a thing, more people started making poison a thing. But it is a more contemporary type. Before then, poison wasn't ever outwardly a type and a grouping mechanism. Gotcha, dingus. The idea is that when you look at poison, and poison will be in Xotempo, but as a status condition. So, I was thinking about the different status conditions, right? Poison would be like the most iconic one. And you don't need to have a type tethered to it. Because here's the thing. I could probably do burned. I could probably do paralysis. And I even could do sleep, right? But sleep isn't related to a type. You know, you could say normal type. Burned, you could say, is associated with fire. But paralysis, again, a very Pokemon kind of thing. You can understand, like, being paralyzed by electricity or thunder. But, like, that's a normal, not normal, but, like, that's your body failing you, right? Is that not a normal type thing? Gotta reopen the wound? Always. Doesn't fit them now. The theme now. So, soak. Yeah, it used to be a status effect. Exactly, King. So, to me, when I'm looking at these things, right? These kind of, I guess, types, right? When I'm looking at my system. Exactly. Pokemon doesn't, they have a Pokemon Sleep game. But when I'm looking at this 4 kind of movement, right? There's something fun here. Because not only do we have the alliteration with the M, right? And then the X gets to be its own thing. I was thinking it could be merge, but like it doesn't sound good. Mania I don't also love. But magic really could you know, like imply like it is the type for all the elemental stuff, right? Might could resemble the fighting type and, you know, the physical kind of side, right? And then you have like Moxie and Mania. And what does that mean? Well, it doesn't need to have types, but in Mania, the poison type could live there. It was a fun debate because you guys were very passionate about it. And I love to see passion in anything. Poison could live in Mania, right? Succumbing your mind or your physicality. So it's like this fun thing where I was thinking about like the poison typing, and in general you can kind of like fit more abstract concepts into things, you know? Bruised and overloaded. They could dumb it. Ooh, I love that. I'll mark that down potentially. Bruised. It might be some other words, but it's like bruised and anxiety. Imagine the, wait, maybe instead of confusion, genuinely it could be anxiety kind of thing, because I don't think I want to do confusion in mine. Manipulation, yeah, something like that, right? Reacting so late to my post, yeah, I got a bunch of stuff to go through, right? Another word that means magic or mana, what is? Oh, for M. How about frenzy? Frenzy could be an interesting one. I'll mark that down here. I'm marking it on the side. You guys can't see it. But yeah, I really want to keep it very simple. I don't want to do like a whole million different things. Numb, that's interesting. Yeah, like for example, numb could be kind of like frozen or even paralyzed, right? Well, paralyzed means you can't really move at all, right? But see, even paralyzed has like a similarity to frozen, right? Where paralysis is like, frozen is like the deep version of paralysis where you can't do anything. To take its place, hell yeah. Besides, was there any damage over time? I'm not sure, but this is a very fun conversation. Let me quickly go over this thing, and then we'll get to the beetle, I promise. So, magic, to me, beats might, right? Obviously a big, burly barbarian, if they get close enough to a wizard, yeah, he's ripping them in half. But the idea is, if you're at a distance, magic is going to be able to be fired at that person at a distance, right? Moxie. I like Moxie because that's all about the heart, right? I was thinking about body, mind, soul. Moxie is about having the kind of courage, right? If magic is your mind, might is your strength, Moxie is courage, right? Another type triangle, right? Little triangle, Triforce. So with Moxie, it's like you've got a little bit of everything, but you're more like dexterous, you're more foolhardy, you're like driven by courage. And I like that pure might's gonna beat that up, right? You have a guy in a ring with a boxer who knows how to fight and is jacked up, and you're like, I'll never give up, and you're built like a little shrimp, you're gonna get absolutely decimated. So it makes sense that might would beat Moxie. Then finally, what is Mania? Mania, or whatever kind of thing that I get, would be creatures like the cordyceps creature, right? The cordycluster, right? I would like to think, and there could be a thing, right, where certain Xotempo might feature two types, right? Maybe this guy is both Mania and Might, right? Because he's clearly very strong, but his mind is kind of succumbed, not in literal sense to the cordyceps, but that's what it's based on, right? So what Mania is kind of like this wild card, and it's kind of like dark type beating psychic type, right? Where the idea of a psychic being weak to dark is because they're trying to read the mind of the dark type, and they're like, oh buddy, your shit is fucked up in your brain. I'm going crazy trying to read your crazy. So I like Mania is kind of like the offbeat of all three, right? And then finally, this would be, I guess, if anything, the X in the middle, whatever I end up calling it, be it called, it might even be called Cross, it might be called Bond type. This basically represents a fusion of all four. So you kind of have the ability to turn any Xotempo that you have fully bonded, right? That's like, if anything, that's like the gimmick of Xotempo, where if you max out your friendship with your Xotempo, you're able to bring it into this form. Maybe it's something like a form where kind of like a stellar type, where I'm going to make it so that you're not weak to anything by any particular means. You don't do super effective damage to anybody, but you have like a little bit of a stab boost on your like affinity or whatever I end up calling type moves, right? Myriad sounds a little off to me. I didn't like merge. I didn't like mixed either. So hugged Kidnappia status, stunned. Stunned instead of paralysis would make sense too. I'll mark that stuff down for sure. Let's see, cramp. Heck, in some games there's a difference between poison and toxic. Right, gotcha. Basically, you need to know what systems can be messed with. Absolutely. I love Might and Moxie, raw power versus a braggart. Yeah, and I wouldn't say braggart, but more like I like that gumption. It's never really been seen in a type triangle before, or type diamond, right? X should be called Max Mix. Max Mix. If it weren't for Might and Magic, I would say something called Domain Moods. Yeah, I like moods too. Beware coming in with the hugs. How many moves per type? Way too early to say. I would basically, again, it's more the way I would do it. And there's probably a lot of logistic stuff that I got to figure out. So let's just say hug-based paralysis, truly beware. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. A tribe effect and a type effect. Potentially. Xotempo. That's an old joke for you guys. If you know, you know. So look, this is how it might be. Type. Let's just say like type. And then faction, guild, nature. Maybe nature is better. So let's just say its type is Moxie, right? And then its nature is runic and cryptic. I think the way I'm going to do the moves is, and again, this one is actual for gameplay, right? This would affect the gameplay because I don't want you guys to have to remember 17, 18 different types and then be like, what's weak to this? What's weak to that? Don't get me wrong. It works with Pokemon. I just want to do things my own way. Marvelous, Majestic, Magnificent is too long. Like, if you look right now, the system I have is very easy and rotational, right? Magic, Might, Moxie, Mania. All 5 letters, all start with M. That's why it was a little tough. I found words like Merit, Merge, Mania, Morph. But, you know, if I can't get all M's, I might keep them 5 simple letters for simple words, you know. Can Xotempos be of any types, or are they limited? I think that they would be like maybe... it could be a thing where it's one particular type. Or 2, maybe. So maybe it's like, as I was saying, Moxie and Might, maybe for the Cordyceps based one. Now, if I have these kind of things, right? Me too. Streamlined type systems are the fastest way to get someone into a game, right? That's why, like, there's certain things that I can arbitrarily change that would make things more difficult. I don't need to, like, change the word for evolution, for example, because if it does the same thing, there's no reason to change it. Master? But what would master cover? Traits could be blanket terms saying they have the mania trait. Yeah, that's why I was thinking maybe style might work as well. However, I like the word type because, again, if you're a Pokemon fan and you come over, you hear type, you know, oh, there's going to be type advantages, you know? So as far as naming, but basically, with nature, runic, and cryptic, I think what I like about this, right, is that way there isn't so much like this elemental kind of weakness type of thing where, like, again, also I think that would have limited my designs in a major way. But I would like to think all moves, right? All moves will have their roots in these natures. So, for example, a cryptic, I was going to say domain, a cryptic natured Xotempo would have access to moves that other creatures wouldn't have. However, they would hit as like a Moxie cryptic attack. Does that make sense? It's a little confusing because, you know, I'm using terminology that even I haven't sorted out. But what if we renamed it Malice? As for what though? Like for like a type? Or for here? It wouldn't fit the 5 thingy. But Malice does have a negative connotation, and I suppose Manic or Mania does too. But Malice sounds like ill-intended, versus Mania being like, I'm succumbed to my mind, which is why Moxie, which is all mind, right, courage and heart, can defeat Mania, and that Mania, their maniac power, trumps like a learned ordered magic system. Right? Existential concepts. Will the Yeti and Bigfoot have similar names? It's possible. Random, but possible. At the very least, their designs will tell you they're cousins. Oh, I might not even bring back Bigfoot. He might come for part 2. Because I think Bigfoot into King Kong, it makes sense, but it's like one has big feet and then the other guy has big arms, like, you know. Mania mutates energy. Magic creates energy. Might uses kinetic energy. Moxie, I still don't understand it. So, if I'm trying to word it the way you're wording it, Cybershell, Might is physical, right? Also, I promise we'll get to more art in a little bit. Maybe think of it like, how is that in those games? Might is physical. Magic. Oh, this is a perfect way to do it. Magic is special. Might is physical attacker. Moxie is like... This is going to seem very weird. I hope this makes sense. Moxie is more... It's like a mix of the two with more of a physical lean. So physical over special. I think this makes sense. Chat, you tell me if I've lost my mind. And then Mania is like a... So basically Moxie and Mania are mixed with a lean. With Mania being special over physical. And Magic is like pure special, Might is pure physical. So type is move independent and applies to whatever move they use. Like if Manic and Magic use the same move, they would do different... Yes, I think that's what I'm going for. I have to test it out, but I like that concept. What do you think of Hug? I think it's very fun and cute, but I think it doesn't fit the world that I'm building. It'll probably be more traditional stuff. Keep it simple, things people know. Probably, poison. Even burned isn't super necessary. Poison and burn have like a similar vibe. With burn, you lower attacks. Like, I want to make sense. Cool. I really want to, again, streamline a lot of things about Pokemon, right? There are like a lot of hidden things people don't know. That like Toxic does more damage than Poison, right? It's not like super ever explained well. There's a lot to Pokemon that I'm just streamlining. That's all it is, right? I'm paying homage to Pokemon. I love Pokemon. Just doing it my own way, right? So, so I wanted to show you the developments of this. Not to mention, not every creature could paralyze or stun or put enemies to sleep, but more like, there's different, like constricted, right, is a type of hug, right? If a Tentacruel hugs you. But anyway, I'm going to call it for the types. I wanted to show you guys the development. Again, I'm very happy and proud of the imagery, like very simple, right? Like I was like trying to think, what are the types? How do I do it? These are like super easy to understand. The types, I think, make sense. You have like a diamond shape kind of for this heart, triangle, diamond, a circle, and then finally in the middle, an X. That imagery, symbolism, all of it has multiple layers, which I think really track. So I always need hugs. I always need hugs too, buddy. Don't worry. So let's say there's a move called Punch. If you use Punch, it's a different sort of hit that does damage. Yeah, I think that's what I think would be really cool, right? So a Might Hug would be different from a Magic Hug, right? Maybe the Magic Hug is like a more special attack lean, right? I mean, granted, it depends on the individual stats. Yeah, exactly. I think that gives a lot of variety to moves as well, And then also, what I really, really enjoy about my system is more or less, you remember I was saying this middle one is a merged one, right? If like you're like, dang, I really like this creature, but like I'm not like a fan of the Might typing, or like, oh no, it makes it very weak against a certain kind of creature, I'm encouraging my players to bond with all of your Xotempo. You would unlock that hidden type, and then you don't have to play within the I keep calling it triangle, but I'll call it the diamond, the type diamond, right? You don't have to do special attacks, or rather super effective attacks, right? You could just merge, change your creature's typing, and then more or less just have them be who you want them to be, and they're viable against everything. They're not necessarily strong or weak against anyone, but I like that you can do that, right? Because like there's so many mons that people want to use in Pokemon, but they're like, oh, the typing is atrocious. I want everyone to be viable, and that's what this system allows, right? So what exactly would nature do besides the moves and abilities? I think so. I think nature would be, but I haven't figured anything about abilities yet. But potentially it would be, I think like ability could also be related to type as well. But it would be cool to make sure that the domain or nature, right, whatever I end up using, it could all come from their nature, right? Like the type is the face value element. Like when you look at a creature, hopefully you kind of get the idea of what they are. But either way, it will be right in the name, right? It'll be a fist symbol in front of Cluster, for example, right? But I also want to potentially play up why I chose the domain name is because I wanted to have like terrain be a thing, right? So you could be fighting on a cryptic terrain at the time, right? Or you unleash like a sector, right? And that would affect gameplay, kind of like in a Yu-Gi-Oh way, right? In Yu-Gi-Oh, you could run a water deck and then bring out the Umi card, right? And Umi makes the field water. So I kind of like that. You can explain what you mean by hug. I think you did already, but... And then your grind is worth it. Yeah, like, at the end of the day, I want you to bond with the creatures one way or another, right? Here's another reason to do so. Hug status, it stops the opponent from attacking for one turn, but after the hug, they refuse to hurt the hugger. Think of it like a tract. So if I get this right, all the Xotempos will get at least 2 types they can choose from, plus the option. As of now, it's that, not that they get to choose from, although that could be really interesting too, if you were basically able to kind of like denote what... Wait a second, what if I made it that players choose the direction of the types? Maybe there's like a predetermined... Maybe these are like these are the avenues of chaos and order. And how you raise them develops their type. And they come with like a predetermined type, but you can change it. Because, you know, you're imposing your... I don't say imposing. Definitely something to think about. I'm sure people would find super optimized meta kind of stuff. I'm not here to balance things, you know. But that could be really cool. The context environment cards, me too. Different play styles, right? It would be complicated, but I'm looking at the reaction. People seem to be interested. And that was what originally the whole chaos and order thing is, right? So what if I did something like this? So if chaos and order are a big theme, right? It does sound interesting. I think, Rosa, there's definitely some cool stuff to figure out in here. So let's say with chaos and order, I feel like might, magic, and mania. Oh no, that would make sense. Well, it could be magic. Oh, what if it's magic and might? No, but why would it be super effective against each other? No, yeah, so I think I was right the first time. It's probably magic and mania versus might and moxie. And then... So chaos and order might not be an overt typing, but it's kind of like this hidden kind of thing. Xotempo still going to evolve differently based on their alignment, or is there... I was always going to be alignment, but if I am moving away from alignment, it might be type, and that would be... could certainly help. Exactly, right? So that way, if you can go in the direction of either might or moxie, and that would, yeah, that would make sense. So latter, you could base the kaijus based off of each type. Magic, might, and moxie. What do you mean by might? Might is strength. A dingus and a loon. How about each starter presents each 4 type? I only have one... Oh, I only have 3 starters. Unless... Wait, that could let me cut 1 3-stage... and then put a 4th starter. But I don't know if that's necessary. How many moves can you use in battle? I mean, no more or less than Pokemon. But again, I wanted to, show you guys this update Sounds like everybody's starting to get excited about the possibility. I think all this makes a ton of sense. Again, it offers kind of more strategy, because I wasn't really thinking the strategy side of battle yet. But this will certainly open up the door. It could be that Mania has its own word, and it doesn't have like part of the Might, Magic, Moxie. Or it could even be Mania could be its own thing, and then the merge form in the middle, the merge type, could be a way to like pull out of it even further. Sounds like an awesome system. Thanks. Still plenty, you know. It would certainly be different. I don't think there's any game with 4 starters to select. Yeah, I think three is enough. You know, I don't Mania. I think also selling Mania is a bit much for a starter. It's like, hey, here, start your journey. You know, do you want to go with Magic, Might, Moxie, or are you going cuckoo, caca, crazy, you know, manic? So I'll keep it simple. Also, you don't want to create any more decision fatigue for someone who's just starting the game. People already have sometimes trouble choosing starters, you know? Credit card debt? What the? I just want to know that your stream was my entertainment. Oh my god. Oh, Pookie, let me show you. I already showed chat. What do you think of these? What do you think? What does everyone think of these Echo Clogs? These are crazy looking, bro. You see me in the club. All right, let's draw. Let's draw, chat. One more question. I apologize. No, it's fine. If you wouldn't mind adding all these questions, if you could, and anyone who has any questions, please add it to the Discord, the Xotempo questions. I have taken those questions out from there into my Google Docs, and they've helped immensely. So questions, all the questions from here, any questions about battle system, the world, the nature or the domain or the class system, whatever, anything and everything helps me figure all this out. Ew, take that back. Are there any benefits from being a certain type, like stat buffs? I don't think so. So, actually, I lied. There's one last thing I'll go over. Let's draw. I'd like to see a concept about how each type uses energy and atomic level for science. Well, the thing is, Pokemon is far more science-oriented, and mine is far more magic-oriented, so I'm not really looking at things from a science perspective, right? My evolutions, I'm trying to make them make sense, but whereas in Pokemon, understandably, that's their direction, that's cool and fine. They're like, how does they work in the environment, right? These creatures evolved in a certain way, and that's why it looks like it does, or it has a certain type. I'm more about like the vibes and the emotions, the magical side, right? Rather than science side. So I wouldn't really, I'm sure I could break it down in that way, but I don't think it's like, you know, ultimate water park shoes. I don't even like getting wet or going to a water park. But you're right about that. Funny thing is, these starters kind of already correlate with the type symbols, which is amazing that I somehow landed that. You know that, but I know there are plenty of people who gravitate towards chaos. Yeah, for sure. After spending a lot of money, I'm going to play Val? Hell yeah. What are the rarities for each type? I have no idea. I only just came up with them. Thank you. I appreciate you, Go. So I will go over one thing, because I feel like it's worth it. And then I promise we'll get to the art. It'll be dope. Chat, look at these. What the hell is this? You may have seen in Pokemon HP. You've seen speed. You've seen attack. You've seen defense. But charisma. If you play D&D, you've seen Dex and charisma. By now, you guys have known that D&D is like a big inspiration for me early on when I was like trying to think of, you know, all this world stuff. So, this is the way I'm looking at it. When I was looking at the Pokemon system, it started with 5, right? HP, attack, defense, speed, and what? Special. Eventually, special got split into special attack and special defense, which makes sense, right? Because clarification is very important. Some Pokemon, they can have high special, but like to have, if attack and defense were getting broken up, why wouldn't the special side of it, right? So rather than me, again, where I can kind of change things, this was a space that I found in. Always need high charisma. Hell yeah, me too, man. Before I was going the hug status, dumb, and it was dumb if it worked on a human? How do you mean? Pokemon's like a sci-fi fantasy. Yeah, if anything, I'm leaning more towards fantasy. And, part of me wonders if I even lean away from, the sci-fi elements of the fantasy part, right? But yeah, that makes sense. I'm even more intrigued in emotion-based. Even still, like, emotion-based, it's like truly about how you're bonding, right? That's why I lean towards that way. Truly, like, it was Mega Evolution that really started this entire thing where I'm like, damn, what happened to the whole bonding Pokemon thing? And then you're like pushing your Pokemon physically through their limits to like Mega Evolve. And I was like, no, I gotta fix all that. What is your favorite type? As of now, I would say in Pokemon or here. Because I don't know yet, because I'm only just coming up with it. But alas, I will say for Pokemon, it's probably, I love Ghost is my favorite. Here, HP, Dex, Speed, Attack, Defense, and Charisma. Bonnie, what are you talking about, man? What is all this? HP, we know what it is. Also, I'm streamlining everything. Streamlining is the name of my game. So, 100 is the max you can do or get. Let's say, Arceus, if he was in this game, Arceus is getting 100, right? So what I'm trying to say is you will not see many creatures get remotely close to 100, all right? What's the difference between Dex and Speed? I will definitely get to it, I promise. So Arceus will get to 100. Right? But you can't really obtain the God of Pokemon normally. Same way in my games, you're not going to be catching the legendaries. You are befriending them and then summoning them to fight for you. At most, I'll say like the legendaries, they'll probably hover in between 90 to 95, right? And they'll stay on the field kind of like a Mega Evolution type of thing, maybe like 3 turns. And maybe it's like you can only use them ever so rarely, right? This will allow you to fill up your party with characters you bond with and fall in love with in the overworld. And you can kind of have like a cheat sheet 7th guy that's kind of like hanging out with you. As far as balancing, it might be, I have an idea of how to balance if there is a way to keep legendaries on the team, but that'll be for a later video. So, HP. Yes, Retro, you got it exactly. You got it exactly. Although I gotta like find the balance for it. So HP is straight up health, right? Dex is like more so. It's like technique, evasion, right? Your nimbleness, right? As far as like actually fighting in battle, like it's your battle sense. Right? In a way. Hands are acting out. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope your hands feel better, Rosa. Take care. I gotta go, but can you answer the question? Tell me again your question, buddy. ADHD players will love Mania. OCD players will love Moxie, I think. I hope everybody loves everything. Speed is straight up priority, right? Like whoever goes first, potentially. Attack, we already know. Defense, we already know. Charisma. So, charisma, this is a stat that is brand new to, like, a Pokemon-like. So, I think the way I want to do charisma is just like the original Pokemon. I don't think there's a need to necessarily distinguish special attack or special defense from my game. Take care, Ryan. Have a good one. So this one is more the special stat. With attack and defense, I kind of like the idea of charisma potentially playing off of these 2 stats. It may bolster it. Otherwise, another mechanic I was thinking as far as capturing, right, is if not capturing, interacting with the creatures, right? If evolving a creature or even capturing a creature, if you're using a charisma stat, it could very well be the charisma stat is its own thing outside of the battles. Now, that may or may not be the case, but there's a lot of cool things to do with it. Also, chat, tell me how... Isn't this nice to see the kind of slant there? Like that perfect kind of movement. Everything of my thing has to be aesthetically pleasing. If it's the diamond system and even the way it's like layered. But charisma will more than likely be your special stat tool. It may also, again, affect how you capture. Like, if a creature has a high charisma, it might be harder or easier to capture, depending. It might be something like that. Like, it could be something that might be, like... I like this idea where charisma might be the one thing that you can, like, go out of your way to raise that affects the others. Because, so as I was saying... If 100 is the max, that would mean it's 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. However, it would be really cool, say, whatever the kind of combination is, maybe charisma could go past 20 and it kind of like jumps into other stats. You know, like I have to think about the math and all that kind of stuff, but I like the idea of charisma being... Oh, wait a second. Is this how math works? 12. That doesn't add up. So I'll have to like restructure numbers. Now, it may not be 20 is the max, or it's something like this, where it could be 20 is the max here. And even then, since no creature is ever truly going to get 100, that's what it was. Your charisma could kind of help boost like a particular other stat. I'll have to figure it out. If you guys have any thoughts and ideas, let me know. But that's what basically all this is. I will, figure out all that stuff once I think about moves and, how they affect in battle. Certain things will make complete sense off rip, right? Defense. If you have high defense, the attack won't hit as hard. If you have high HP, you'll be on the field a little longer, right? Or rather, that denotes when you get knocked out more so. Speed means when you would go first. Dex might truly affect how you dodge things, etc., right? Before I go, was the hug status dumb, and was it dumb if it worked on... It's not dumb, like I said, it doesn't fit my game, and if it's dumb if it worked on a human... you couldn't fight Xotempo versus human, so, that's not really something that could happen. How does one activate their charisma? A social variable. Yeah, Dingus, I think it's more like a social variable, where it might affect the way it's captured. I don't necessarily see it something that's triggered in the battle, although I think that could be very cool. It could be something like higher the charisma, the higher chance for a critical hit. You could also do it where a stat can go above 20, but that leads to another. Yeah, that's true. That is true too. Because, it could really show you the strength of a creature, right? Where they're like, I'm a might creature. I don't need magic. I mean, I might still have some for the sake of balance, but I have like 22 damage, And then you'd be like, oh, that guy's strong. But I do like the idea of 20 being the max. Just because like a capstone kind of thing, it really keeps things perspective, right? And then like streamline. Charisma being the luck stat, exactly what it's trying to be in a way, right? So that's kind of a good way to put it. But anyway, that's what that system is. It's getting more and more closer to being refined. You guys getting excited about this stuff really makes me feel happy and excited too, by the way. So I'll close off over here. So now we have a more formal type system, right? Very easy to get into. A lot of potential there. Okay, so we're now 2 hours into the stream. It's 8:30. Let's see if we couldn't nail a BEETLE Xotempo. So I will quickly go into the Scarab BEETLE detailing and tuning, fine tuning as far as, Again, I like to create creatures that we haven't necessarily seen. unfortunately, in a way, Rabska, right? If you didn't know, this is straight up based on a scarab, right? It may not be outright, like, you've got like the turquoise color, so that's obvious. The imagery here is exactly, yeah, this is a drawing stream, I know, right? It's basically exactly based on this, right? Down to the way the talons are. This mustache element creates the tail feather shape. The element here creates the wing shape. And then, as you can see, it's holding up this nucleus sun type of motif, which came from the dung beetle element, which is like, it's a amazing setup. So I'm going to be creating more of a traditional scarab beetle. So at the end of the day, yeah, like, there's always going to be some overlap with Pokemon, but I always get to do it my way. They have a dolphin Pokemon. Mine is the Ganges River Dolphin, right? Like, where I can do different things, you know, that's what I'll focus on. So with the Scarab, right, in particular, also Rabska is Scarab. So Rab is, so it's Scarab, right? So it's Rabska, basically backwards. He's so cute. Why are there so many fetus Pokemon? There's not so many, right? It's just Mew could kind of be seen as one when it's in its bubble, but that would make sense as the origin of all Pokemon. Reuniclus, that's more like, you know, the cell division, so that's not fetus. And then this is less, there's no fetus here, right? This is more like, basically, like amniotic cell. So it is kind of fetus-like. I'll grant you that. But that's because apparently, like, as far as like beetles and whatnot, like the dung beetle, I think do they put their babies in like dung and stuff to protect them? Rabska, although Arbok is Cobra backwards, Rabska is like two halves split backwards rather than the entire word. I love the design-based turtle beetle or trilobite beetle with telephation orb. Charisma could affect their chance per attack, defense, and during the game. Charisma can increase the more it's trained. In that, I'd call it confidence. I like confidence, but again, it's too long. You have to think like naming conventions. Charisma is a stat that people really know of from other games as well. So charisma, confidence is kind of the same thing. Yeah, one way or another, it's like that luck, or if not even luck, but like that trick. You know, a lot of times people say luck is something you train in real life too, right? But anyway, I'm going to go over scarabs in mythology, and we'll get to drawing. I do like that there's a stat that kind of like gauges how well you might hit and whatnot, but it does make me worried because, like, if a creature is just naturally lacking charisma, I don't want them to suffer, you know? Okay, so scarabs in mythology. Let's get it. Oh! Okay, wait, so that's why they did... That's why they did that in Pokemon. Gotcha. So ancient Egyptian scarabs, okay? The importance of the scarab in ancient Egypt. The scarab is one of the most frequently seen symbols in Egyptian culture, mythology, and hieroglyphics. Hardly surprising given how common the scarab dung beetles were and still are in the region. They represent the never-ending daily cycle of life. So the way it works is they're dung beetles. Oh shit, okay. Once they're in, they basically shape animal dung into balls and roll them to their nest. Once there, the insects lay their eggs inside the dung ball, giving them protection, warmth, and a food source for the soon-to-be hatched eggs. Oh man, this is such a good line for Pokemon, the way they handled it then. Unsurprisingly, these particular dung beetles quickly made their way into Egyptian myths. The ancient people in the region came to believe the sun ball was also rolled in the sky in a similar manner. Therefore, it portrayed the god Khepri as a scarab-headed deity. Khepri was the god tasked with the job of helping the sun to rise every morning. Love that. Probably the most famous historical piece of art related to the Egyptian scarab was the golden scarab of Nefertiti. More than 200 of his scarabs have been unearthed as of today, so the total number is likely to be in the high hundreds or more. Amenhotep's scarabs were large, ranging from 3.5 centimeters to 10, beautifully crafted out of steatite. Alright, cool. So the renewal of the day, the idea of regeneration and rebirth, and life after death. Pretty damn cool. So I don't know if I'll be able to... there's like scarab amulets that I'm seeing here. Maybe we can kind of use that as a way to like fold it into the design a little bit more. And this could be like, especially the golden coloration, could kind of grow off of the, you know, the gold digging ants. That was the previous, you know, that was like the previous. Oh, okay, interesting stuff here. Scarab artifact, the lapis lazuli scarab, and groups of scarab. Oh, okay, so we can definitely use this for the design. Chat, this is pretty cool. All right, let's use that as a reference point. So we got these. Rabska, I'll keep you on the side. So this is going to be more of a monstrous beetle, you know? Like, I just want it to be... Maybe this is the beetle that rolls the sun every morning, you know, based on the mythology. Not literally in the Xotempo world, but, you know, for the sake of designing, right? So there you go, the dung beetles working together. Here's some more amulets that I can use. Let's get started. I've trained luck for catching shinies. It'd be so cool if the game had a Pokemon Ranch type daycare where charisma can increase. See, the thing is, I don't necessarily want that, because charisma in itself is confidence and luck. That's something that should be earned by the player, right? To be like, oh, you just trained my creature. Like, there's like an overall like training thing I'm sure I can add in the game for like a general thing, but I think charisma is earned. It would kind of defeat the whole point. Like, you yourself as a human being cannot earn confidence by having someone else doing it for you. You build confidence by trying something new, right? Taking a dare, going out of your comfort zone. It would feel very against the themology, especially if the game is all about finding your way and how you impact the growth of your creature. So probably not like that. Okay, so all this time later, I'm gonna just start kind of creating like a general shape. With a creature this big, I was trying to think like I could make it kind of like a literal rhinoceros beetle, right? Where the horn, you know, is kind of like raised out. And yeah, we really don't have like a simpler Pokemon that's like a quadrupedal beetle, I don't think. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But yeah, my guy will be something like that, you know? And he'll be pretty big. I think he's going to be pretty big. Like, do you think that the usual type system, grass, water, fire, is boring? Not at all. I love that system. It's classic. It's tried and true. It's the best, one of the best systems, because the logic of it immediately makes sense, right? With Magic, Might, Moxie, and Mania, like, I'm going to kind of have to sit there and explain it, but with a type system like Pokemon has, and you know, I might have to come up with some, maybe after some time, like, as much as I love this system, maybe I'm going to be like, oh, too many people are like confused about it. How do I make it a little more understanding, right? We all know that water puts out fire. We all know that fire destroys a forest, right? Which we can relate to a grass type. So in that way, it's really important because it sets the rest of the type system of Pokemon, right? It teaches you early on. However, as they've added more and more, I'm looking forward to seeing more types if they ever do that. It's always exciting. But if I am making my own thing, I do kind of want to make a simpler system. That will be something that interests me. We'll see how that works out. It may work out, it may not. With Fire Emblem, part of what gave me the confidence is like, I could be wrong in chat. You guys can kind of teach me. He's quadruped, but like we barely see that, right? The whole idea is like he's always flying, right? And he's got like this massive, railgun mouth, right? I think a good way of implementing charisma is if it were a stat that affects the resistance and chances of statuses being inflicted. I like that too. Like your natural aversion to those kind of things. I think it can be like an all-round catch-all kind of like, like for all the unseen stuff, right? Super effective. Not evasion, because that's more like the other stat, dexterity, or nimbleness, right? That's kind of the thing. Welcome to the party. Hey, thank you to Astral Haze for the subscribe. Only thing I wish is more perfect type triangles, because thematically, yeah, it would make it a little more easier to kind of understand. Like for me, like I noticed it more so when I played on stream, where I was like, I love Vika. Yeah, is it Vika or Vika? I love it so much. It's such a fun Pokemon. But basically, with something like Pokemon types, you only need to know like a good chunk of them, and then you're like reminded every now and then. You're like, oh yeah, that's not super effective, or I shouldn't have done that. You know what? Yeah, I kind of want it to be like more chunky like this, because I have like another. Oh, this is kind of interesting. Definitely not what I was thinking in mind for Scarab, so I'll see if it stays. It might need to be another Beetle if Scarab doesn't work. Pretty good too, having Charisma act as bonus damage while hitting super effective. Yeah. It could be, again, if it's truly a type that you can kind of manipulate to some degree, like, it's kind of like Charisma. Oh, what if I made it that Charisma... What if I made your human attribute? The human attribute is going to be MP and Charisma. So the amount of like mana points you have to like evolve per match, maybe that's dependent on the player character, and Charisma is less. Or maybe you have a set Charisma, and it's what you're developing throughout the game for yourself that bolsters any given creature's individual charisma. Exactly. The pro tag. Ooh, I love this color though. Then for the neutral type, since it has no weaknesses, it could then... Yeah, exactly. There could be something really fun there for sure. What do we think of this so far? It's a little funky, I'm not gonna lie. I'm going to kind of like armor up this space. Maybe there's a little bit of a slope there. I don't normally block in my designs like this, but it just feels right. I'm going to kind of make this kind of ridged down. Yeah, Dingus, if you don't mind marking this stuff down too. Some of these ideas. Giraffe, weevil, there, beetles could work if the scarab doesn't work. They've got like long necks, right? I think it'll work. It just... maybe it's more like the inspiration, right? Because I want to do scarab because I want more Egyptian mythology, you know, in my game concept. Where's that bird, the rock or the rook from? Do we know? On it? Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Let's see. I'll add a horn here. Because there are other beetle or insect kind of mythos I can use. But I would really love to make this one work. Charisma has a special stat, also tracks. You know? There was something else, Rook or Arabian, gotcha. What is their primary descriptor? He's like a scribe in the court? Yeah, that's true. Because from the beginning, he's shown a lot of interest in Xotempo above and beyond. So that's why I hope he doesn't mind. I mean, all you guys have. But I get the most questions that, like, help me, like, think about things, I think, from Dingus. It's invaluable. Oh yeah, maybe it could kind of be like a face guard kind of thing, and then he could have like these smaller... Let's do... maybe it's more adding gold as well. Because the thing is, we don't really see scarab beetles with these super long kind of horns. But, you know, maybe we extend it out like that. I have to take lots of notes as DM. Gotcha, yeah. You know what, the very few times I DM'd, I really didn't take a lot of, well, I guess it was like a one-shot, and then there's like a mini campaign. I failed at this other campaign I was trying to do. A rock, also spelled rook or rook, is a gigantic legendary bird. It was said to be able to carry an elephant or rhinoceros in its claws, according to the legend. So I know it's big, but what does he look like? I just found a beetle I never knew about. Trilobite beetle? Yeah, it's pretty cool. So maybe my beetle, what's throwing me off, maybe it's like, it just needs to be more thinner, maybe? No, Digimon survive at a battle zone where you evolve during battle. However, once you unlock this evo, you can evolve it straight into the beginning of fights. I definitely plan on having that option, so you don't have to do it at the beginning of every round. But I don't think that's also super unheard of to like have as a mechanic, because that's what Yu-Gi-Oh is, right? Where you kind of tribute summon a lot of creatures, and in a way that's kind of like your evolution mechanic. And there's something very interesting about that mechanic. Like, maybe like, you know, any of your Xotempo that's part of your team could evolve into another one, right? That's an insane concept, I know. But like, I'm like trying to, because I had this conversation before, I forgot who mentioned it in chat, where it was this talk about, you know, I realized they're spirits, like, in a very Digimon way, yet, you know, rooted with, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! As well, which is another one of my loves. The idea is that they're all energy one way or another. Maybe it's, like, more so that certain creatures tend to evolve into other lines. Like, maybe all birds could evolve into each other. There's some cool stuff that's possible, you know, and I'm like curious to see if I can find some really cool mechanic with that, you know. You didn't have to spend mana or anything to evolve. It was a thing you did right away. You didn't have to think about it for the rest of the fight. It was for all the world like an eagle, but one indeed of enormous size, so big in fact its quills were 12 paces. Where were the quills, do you think? Saying that you can't do it since Digimon did it first, that it's going for a similar thing. It could be good to reference. Rockter, giant-ass falcon, or eagle, they don't really have special. That's why I was like thinking like, yeah, I don't really feel the need to like design one, you know? Like, I could still have it on the basis of one, but like, it's kind of like, okay, cool, but like, what does it do? You know? So maybe the gold truly are like the trim parts. It could be like over here as well. Maybe I can have like this darker kind of blue underneath for just some contrast. Because when I'm looking at scarab beetles, I don't necessarily see a tanky rhino-like beetle that I pictured in my mind. You know? I'm now seeing a more... Like, I'm wondering if it's just better to make it a more middle stage kind of creature. And then I evolve it into a proper tanky beetle. You know? Named Rock, that's a giant burst person. That makes sense. And it's so strong that it will seize an elephant. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing really about its design that really I can reference, it feels like. Should I make it? Yeah, it does feel like I need to try and retain like the shape of the actual scarab beetle for this design to land, right? You know what? It could be more of like this opulent quadrupedal beetle. Right? Oh, hold on. Now it's looking a little better. Part of me is wondering if I make this like a 3-stage line. How do I do the mandible for this guy? They come... According to... Can kind of come out like this. The thing is, these guys seem to have small heads. So that's maybe what's also throwing me off about the design. Where it's a 2-headed vulture, yeah, but that's someone else's design, right? That's their take on it. Which, you know, goes to show I could choose a bird that hasn't been done before and, like, make my own take on the rock, right? Or the rook. So, I'm sure there are plenty of really cool birds that Pokemon hasn't done yet. So, if I decide to go Phoenix, I'm going to do the golden pheasant which is this beautiful, beautiful bird from China. I urge you guys to look it up, because that could be a very cool take on the phoenix, you know? You know what? I wonder if maybe I put more pharaoh-like kind of stuff in this guy's design. You know? Just gonna go maybe a little darker. I think it's at least getting Egyptian vibes, which is nice. For its eye color, I think I'm going to go for like a reddish kind of color for a little bit of pop. Row, row, fight the power. Is that the reference you were going for? Yeah, I definitely need to add one more bird, I think. The phoenix is a great choice, because I do need to have, I think, more Chinese reference, since I don't have many. I have the big Shi, and that's it, I think. And the phoenix is also like Egyptian as well, but I could kind of lean it more into a Chinese phoenix, if anything. You know? What do we think of this design so far, chat? Yeah, I think the opulence is kind of the deciding factor. What's the plan with the rook? I have no idea. I may or may not do the rook. I kind of want to do the phoenix just because it's a more interesting bird and I don't have to like put it on fire to make a phoenix. But above all, like, if I am choosing creatures and whatnot, it's to try and find, what do you call it? You know, designs where I, you know, pay homage to more cultures. Since I do feel like I'm kind of missing Chinese representation. Beetle's looking badass. Good, good, good. Phoenix or Phoenix? Definitely not the latter of that. Referencing the Kiss song? Oh, I don't know what that is. I know Kiss, but I don't know the song. But yeah, you know what? It might need to be more of like this slim kind of body. I wanted originally, like, again, like a literal rhino beetle, but I guess as in transformation. This is working for me though. I think it is like trying to just get that overall shape, right? And so I'll have like on this neck thingy, it feels definitely like an animal instead of like, I mean, it's an animal obviously, but it doesn't feel like a beetle per se, but like I think that's what's cool about it. Anything I could do for the horn, you know what, maybe I make it like the hood of like a cobra or something. It kind of just, at the very least, looks like it. Yo, that's interesting. Which is also kind of a nod to Yokabunna, who had like a spade for his. So I won't like overtly make it like an actual snake, but like it's got that shape, doesn't it? Like you can kind of see. Keplow? Ooh. It's not so much plowing, though. I want to see if I get... I'll mark down words and stuff here. Scarab. I might not reference Kefri outright, because that is a straight-up god. But I might include other gods' names, you know. Twisted Sister. I do know of them as well. I don't know their songs off the top of my head. Okay, so we got that. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was not expecting the beetle to look like this. But I think that's cool. I wonder if I can make it more thick. I'm gonna add the black here, black here. I like it. I do like it. Kapower. So I'm referencing the SpongeBob movie. I'm a Goofy Cuba. Oh, gotcha. Capricious. Precious. Because the gold? Definitely not. Pharob. Well, it's not so much a pharaoh, but I see the vision. I do want the horn to be interesting. The horn's gonna have to be... Maybe the horn has a ball on the end, like a mace or something. Not a mace, but to like some sort of orb it can kind of like smash things with. You know? Because I like the Pharaoh hood thing, but like, it might be a bit much, huh? Scarrow. Because this is the guy who's holding up the sun. Scarum. Oh, that's cute. Scram. Scram it. Scram. I kind of like the idea of this guy, yeah, like he can lift people up or smash down this giant, you know, horn. I could do the same kind of red thing that... He's holding up the Eye of Sauron or something. This might be too much. What do you think, chat? I mean, it really does get the scarab beetle imagery across, right? It's holding up the thing. Solarab. That Arab part at the end feels a little... Scaram likes the NR. What do you guys think of the kind of orb thingy at the top? Let me look up some more beetles and stuff. Also, you know what? Let me hit a flip. Do a flip. It could have a lower center of gravity. Maybe that's the kind of issue I'm running into potentially. Let's see. It could also even be a nod to like Atlas, who held up the world. Except he's not holding up the world, he's like rolling in the sun. Right? Skarubi. Oh, I like Skarubi. Tablet kind of looks like a Pokeball. I would change up the color a little bit. I don't really see the Pokeball, but I'll definitely consider changing the color. Although the red looks really nice. Orb looks interesting. Maybe looks a little too heavy, if that makes sense. Like he would fall over. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Although I do like leaning in as far as like weight. Let's see if we couldn't balance him out just a little bit. So it could be... Let's see. I wonder, yeah, if I gotta just make him... Scroll. It's not really rolling. I like Skarubi a lot. He doesn't also feel as massive as I want him to be. Maybe, oh, okay, so maybe he's got like these massive forearms. That should help with balancing stuff, right? And like, if you see a lot of these scarabs, like they've got these kind of like ridges. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Let's get that gold trim back here. It's an orb that's half red and half a brownish gold, which is reminiscent of the Pokeballs in Pokemon Legends A. I'm trying to remember them. Weren't they wooden? Pokemon Legends Arceus Pokeball. See what you're saying. Interesting. So let me do Quasarab. I don't like the Arab part that I'm seeing in these names. Forgot to post it, but I did finish up that regional. Nice. Congrats. Let's see. The scaling... Why the star part? Yellow... Because he needs something to attack with, right? And if he is holding up the sun... Yeah, because look. The Pokemon one, he's got his arms holding up. So I can't do something... Maybe it could be... No. If I... Unless I just made it part of the crest. You know? I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I mean, wait a second. Maybe this would probably be... I think he does need a more interesting kind of horn. Although this is very elephant-like, huh? But I do like it referencing the scarab beetle. But it's like a headdress. Scarist. Nah, that sounds like he's scared. Because either I can stick up the horn straight up like this, which could look cool, could look like a rhino beetle, right? Something that I referenced. Or it could jump really further out. You know, I've seen some beetles have like the horns that come like this. And I could go like this. There's some cool ways. Battalion! That's dope. Be tough. Be tough, I hear B more, but Battalion is pretty cool. Scarabrector. Scarrector, maybe. Battalion is cool, and it is kind of like a tank, right? B-tank. Okay. A thing in ukulele? Dang. Probably was locked in your subconscious. What do you guys think of this kind of crest rather than making it a horn? Not horn, like a mace. Kind of losing my plot. Be Italian. Okay, I got a lot of things to reference here. Let me do this. Let me zoom out. Okay, got a lot of reference stuff. Sorry, Brian guy. Astrito? But where's the astro parts coming from? Oh, like the sun, maybe? So maybe it's like solar. Solar, sun. Okay, let me get rid of... I'll get rid of you. You. I'll keep you on the side. I never played Banjo-Kazooie all the way. Like, I'd started it a long time ago. Never really got into it. I grew up with Mario 64. And then ukulele is made by, you know, the banjo people. So there's, like, a lot of nostalgic connection for those who grew up playing banjo, which is cool. But, Caralenta, Latin word for beetle, Carabus, the Latin word. Well, this guy is more an Egyptian focus. So if anything, I'd want to go more Arabic, Egyptian, if I were going to push in that kind of direction. Getting obelisk vibes? Okay. Obelisk as in Obelisk the Tormentor? He's like one of my favorites of the god cards. I think I liked Slifer, just, you know, you can't really go wrong, but Scar Soul, like Scarab and Soul, but that's just like a fusion of two words, right? I like portmanteaus where there's like a clever kind of, and then not to mention rolling off the tongue that connects it, right? Okay, let me try. Okay, so the thing is, right, they're called kabushi beetles, right, in Japan, because kabuto is like helmet. So I gotta make sure it feels like they're wearing a helmet first and foremost. So I'm gonna lock in a strong first front half, something like this. Okay, that's secure. Next up, now it's got like some sort of helmet type of thing. Let's make, you know what, I think it will need to be something like that. Beetle. Kabuto beetle. But Kabuto, again, is Japanese. Like, I want to go more Egyptian, if anything. Astra means star sun. Gotcha, gotcha. Scarbuto. Scarbuto? Naruto? Same thing. Kabuto is Japanese, right? If anything, I wouldn't mind saying, say, helmet, for example, right? Because, you know, if I'm leaning towards an English speaking audience, then the puns kind of like translate for the audience. Okay, let's get... Oh, what if I maybe made the wings kind of like look like they're always kind of like flapped up? Okay, now let's do... But Scarbuto doesn't have like a flow, right? It's just two words combined together. Mixing Egyptian and Japanese headwear. There's a direction, right? That's a potential direction. Also, do I really maybe bring this guy... Is he going to be low to the ground? That could show he could lift a lot of weight. Right? Right now I'm like mostly drawing from my head, right? Beetle? Beetle? Scorizon. Bro, Dangus, you're killing it with these combinations. Scorizon is interesting. Scorizons for Scarab and Horizon. Not bad. Not bad at all. Unless I really make his head small. The Scarabeetos have a super small head. Nope. He's a pogo bug. What's a pogo bug? There's so many bugs I don't know of. Let's see. I could... Kind of looks like a rhino head. So what if I really did lean into the rhino beetle? Let's make these bits chunkier too. Let's go like this. Should I maybe look up like Pharaoh or Egyptian headwear? Like, I really don't want to make it a super obvious, like, it's Egyptian, it's got to have a connection to a pharaoh. But Khafre is considered a deity, so only one leg. My poor boy has one leg. Let's get him some legs. Poor guy. Poor guy. Dang, I liked it at one point, and now I've really lost the plot. If he's low to the ground... Oh, hold on. Okay, so I kind of like that. Empirital. Emperor and beetle. The yeetle part makes me laugh. Yeet! Although that's what he probably does to people. Right? Also, I am designing this, like, profile view, which isn't, like, my favorite way to design things. It's very limiting to design this way. But I guess I'm trying to get, like, the general shape. Okay. You know what? Yeah, let's try like adding maybe some more colors too. Let's add this kind of red coloration here. Maybe a red that's here. Okay, starting to like it a little bit. Got a nice shine there. Is this a 2-stage or a 3? This will only be a 2-stage. Does he need 6 legs? Maybe that's another thing that's killing me. I mean, what if you use Roman imagery since you know that's true? Let me maybe take out the. Maybe it might be just 4 legs. I think that'll create like better balance. I mean, many Pokemon already have 4 legs for a reason. They're stylized as bugs, right? Alright, so I kind of like this general shape. Let's block him out. Let's see. He could be like more like a rhino, right? Where it goes something like this. It's not bad. Not bad. Beetles don't have tails, so he does kind of feel empty in the back. So maybe like the shape kind of like at least tucks in like this. No legs, give it wheels like a tank. It feels a little too jokey if I did that. They visited once or twice. It was more, maybe a little more than a visit. You could also make the orb bigger and base it more off the Hercules beetle, so it's like Hercules lifting a boulder. That is Greek, but you could make a theme of the design being ancient mythology. The thing is, JDB, the entire game is based off of like cryptids and mythology. So I finally have one for Egyptian mythology. So that's why I kind of want to stick with this theme, because I'm balancing out as much as I can. The world mythologies with a lean to Indian mythology as like the base of my quote-unquote region. B-Tank. B-Tank sounds a little too cute. Like I'd prefer something like Beetalion, which is close. But yeah, Beetalion doesn't. Scoroyo. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, it's 9:24. So let's do this. My hand is killing me since I've been like whiffing on this a lot. Let me see. Yeah, why is my thumb kicking my ass? Ow. Let's see. Can I land this in the next 5 minutes? First of all, let's flip. Let's see. I like the general shape. I like that it's, you know, a little more cuter than I anticipated. I'm going to give him maybe... Yeah, I'm going to give him like a stronger front half. Hopefully, again, this fits the vibe of what I'm trying to go for. Because a scarab beetle might just have to be more cutesy. You know, than trying to make like this tanky kind of beetle. But, look, if I am basing it on a beetle who rolls the sun up every day, he would be strong. That's my take, you know? So, dang it, I'm going to really try to make this work. So, okay, let's do... Hold on, I think I am going to nail this before the end of the stream, chat. I'll have that come out just a little bit. Hold on, chat, it might be on the way. Scrumble. Cute. That is cute. Have you ever seen the larvae for the RL beetle that looks like that? Nasty? Well, so let me teach you this, Pooksters. Ready? Turns out, scarab beetles, right, like the one I'm basing this off of, they lay their young into dung. They find animal dung, and then they lay the young into it because one is, you know, protection, right? Like predators can't see the young in there, and then, okay, all of a sudden I fixed this design, chat. What the hell? The babies exit the dung, the round dung balls they make, and then, you know, they eat through it as sustenance when they're born. You know what? So he's like a cute, buff guy. What's the big deal? Why can't he be cute? Yeah, I like this guy a lot. I do think his horn needs to be a little more interesting, I'd say, because there's nothing really interesting about it right now. Excuse me. Photoshop? What was that? He reads like an elephant, a rhino. Dang, he's cool. He's cooking. Me nodding my head, listening to this while eating. Hell yeah. I knew the yapping would help you finish. Pause. Hey, yo, you cooked? Stop looking at me with those big old eyes. You look cool. Part of me do want to give him one extra set of legs, but I think the issue before was he had too many legs, and it looked really like too busy, this section, for the design. You know? So it just might have to be a quadrupedal beetle. Quadrupedal beetle. He'll definitely need like some sort of other pose, but like I think this works. Brutal. Wait a second. Brutal is kind of fire. I like brutal, but I don't want him to be like outright a brute, you know? He's more... Oh, that's why this design works. Because the scarab beetle, we always see it like really flat and low, like, you know, something like this. That's why this works. But anyway, he's like very opulent beetle. That's cool. That's his life. Nah, I don't like it like that. Let me go back. Yeah, something like that. Call him Dungba. He looks at... Hey, yo! I do like Brutal. There was like a few other ones that I liked too. Hold on. Scarumble, Scaroyal. I liked Vitalian. It could be Scaroyal. Scaroyal. I truly got to sit down one day. I'm going to go to like... Not a Starbucks. I'm not going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to go somewhere and like sit down and just come up with names for everybody. Thing is, like, I always got to go with people. But maybe I'm just going to really sit down by myself, you know? Astreal. Skarubi. I did like Skarubi, but that's if he gets the ruby part back. Which I do want to... Let's see. You know what? I'll just not focus on the names now. Bro, he looks cool. He looks mad cool. He looks mad cool, dude. He's on my team. He's on my team. I'm saying it now. He's on the squad ski. Alright. Robska, you gone. You know what? I think I am going to put like a ruby at the top. Because it's like a fun balancing act. Like there's like a really nice visual to it as well. You know? Like it's supposed to be the sun. He's rolling the sun. That's the whole mythos of it. Trap everyone you know in the art community and force them jigsaw style to name your mons or die. My God. No, you know what? I gotta say, like, coming up with the names is as fun as drawing. You know? Like, trying to find that perfect balance of, like, what feels, you know... It's gotta feel right, too. You know? Does he look like an elephant? Because I really don't have... He doesn't have, like, a face when you think about it, right? He's just... Honestly, I think that's... It looks best like this, I think. And I'll have it like... It's, like... on, like, a kind of pedestal. So it looks like it's this kind of like high-grade jewel. And it looks really rare and expensive. What do we think? No, you know what? Let me just keep it like this. Oh. It could even have like Morning Star kind of vibes because it could be like the sun. You know? Reminds me of Caparaja because the colors. That's why. Not some reason. The reason is there. Caparaja has similar colors and has got like an elephant trunk going on. It might be something I gotta change to avoid that. I see it. Roly Bully. Ooh, that's kind of cute, but it would have to be like Roly Bully. Right? Or like Rully Bully. Rully Bully? Rully Bully? Caparaja got the oxidized with like kind of goldy kind of bits. You know, it's the color scheme. Yeah, you can't really get around it. I mean, I could move the red and whatnot, you know, to like maybe more of a peach. Not peach, but like I'll try and make this look like the sun, but it's like a ruby kind of thing at the end of it. Let's see. There. Let me grab... It might have to be more green. Lean more gold or blue. I don't want to go into Heracross territory, which is that blue underneath, so I'm going to make this darker. I don't know. I see this Caparaja stuff, but I also don't think it's that egregious. You know? Let me pull up Caparaja. Caparaja is so ugly. Like, I really did want to like Caparaja's design, you know? Honestly, Chad, I think I'm good. I think it's the fact that, you know, this guy has a trunk, essentially, right? And so with the trunk... The sun kind of looks a bit like Minior. Does it? Does it, though? Alright, let's do this. So what I'll do, this is the green of Caparaja. I'm gonna make it lean more towards blue, even though the thing is, a Scarab Beetle is gonna be this kind of green color. Honestly, the color doesn't mind. I don't really mind. Okay, I'll do green in the back like that. Okay. Next, gold, gold, gold. Ooh. The Minecraft elephant. Like, I don't mind his... I think all these markings are too gaudy for me. I don't like the two-tone green here. Let me quickly... Like, I like the blocky tusks. Right? So, I don't know. If it were me, I'd probably... Okay, let's just take it like a light yellow, right? To just create a little bit of contrast. More contrast. And then, like, they're getting a lot of movement, but just live with the cubic design. I would definitely make the legs thicker. Oh, wait, this part also feels like my guy. I'm literally looking at... Wow, that's so unintentional. I like Q font. Yeah, me too. I think... So we do this. Extend the tusks, right? Like, really have it be another big part of the design, right? Like, might as well. For this, bring this out more. Give it the same blocky kind of shape. Right? So that way, could separate the chunky body a bit. Also, let's get a little tail in there. And you could even have the tassels be a little more blocky like that. It'll be cute. This ear gets completely lost. So I say, let's see, how would I do it? I'd probably go like this. Just have it be flat against the side. So we have this shape, this shape, this shape, this shape. Now this shape kind of balances well against here, right? This part would need to be lifted up here. I really don't know what this is. Just clean up the silhouette here. Make it thicker. Cut like these parts right here. Bro thinks he's Hellboy. You're not. You're not Hellboy. You're Elephant. So do that. Okay, look. I don't mind this. Go like this. Just make this whole part orange then. That way the ear doesn't get lost in the design. Right? Go like this. Alright, blocked out. Blocked out. Then you got these weird bony things here. But I guess it's supposed to be, you know, like an excavation kind of thing. In that case, why not just make it like this? Like it's like an extra appendage. So go something like that, and maybe it's like, you know, it would properly be mapped onto the model. It actually kind of looks like teeth that way, which is like kind of gross, not gonna lie. I digress. I would do arrows. It's like making that top area really... Make it going towards the focus of the action, which is the trunk. And if you bring it here, this area gets to breathe a little bit more. Right? You know what? Actually, so then what I'll do is I'll just make it... If we didn't have to make it like that part in the original, actually in that case, just do this. Just make it like that, and just add this kind of section, just this patterning that kind of looks like it. I don't think you need to even act like it needs to have like the ridges. You could, and then from here, just I'm truly just kind of leaning into the blockiness of the design. Keep going with the blocky shapes. You know? I don't mind that they added like curvy moments just to like balance against, you know, all the blockiness. But it felt too jarring. It's head tumors. What's your thoughts on Garganical the Goat? Love him so much. And then if you so wanted, I guess you could add whatever this is supposed to be. I guess to be consistent, I'll just go like that. Now he's kind of got like goggles on, maybe. Cover looks so weird with square body. I like the trunk though. His trunk has tomato teeth. Elephant. Okay, so let's go back and forth. Let me see. Obviously, like, it could use a little refine and a little finesse, but like, I like mine better. The tusks feel stronger. The legs feel stronger. The tusks feel... What is this supposed to be? Like, I could definitely make the tusk stronger in my version, but like, it's like a quick edit. You get a little bit of a silhouette with the tail. Like, I don't like the orange pattern here. It just feels so random and like haphazardly thrown in. Also, my arrows going down, big improvement in my opinion. It like, you know, pushes you towards the action, right? Anyway. Little detour. I think I'm going to call it, chat. Stream's gone past 3 hours. I think this is a very good first draft. Huge tangent, I know. Because I see the Caparaja and then I also don't. But I definitely see it. I definitely see it. It was mostly the color patterning, you know? I definitely got to figure out a way to truly good stream. Yeah, we covered a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that. Beetle so bad has some strong. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put him on my team. I feel like I think we need a strong and cool second. I mean, there's plenty, obviously. There's, chat. You know what? I kind of want to keep the turquoise. I don't see the Caparage anymore. Maybe I did get rid of it. I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm going to make this part simple. I'm going to make it... So again, there was like a moon shape. So I'm just going to do... And it's like he's holding up the sun. It looks fragile, but it's not. And he clubs people with it. If it looks like a Pokeball, it's okay. I could also change the color of that. I'm going to just alter the red here just a bit. Rabskisting is also, you know, this red color, so it could straight up, I could also just make it like that, which I don't hate. If you want my opinion, I don't see this guy matching any Pokemon. Good. But it's always good for people to just tell me anyway, you know? Because everyone has different ways they perceive things, you know? And you guys know me of all people, I'll be like, I think this looks like so-and-so Pokemon. And then you guys are usually like, Bonnie, he doesn't look anything like that. And I'll be like, all right, thank you. Again, I think there's plenty of different ways to treat this beetle. I could do a thing like this. I could do like a cool pinching kind of thing. There is truly plenty of ways to go about this design. And I think all of them will be valid. Do I like that there or in the back? Kind of like that in the back. Feels different. Different. I wonder what that guy's up to. Different guy. He was trying to be different. Oh my god. Oh. Wait. Kind of like that. He really feels like it's like an elephant. That's what the issue is. So maybe the eye has got to be elsewhere. I got to really sit down and understand. To me, it looks like a turkey. One thing I will say is I think it'd be nice if the sun glowed. It might glow, it might not. Like, either I can make it like a true appendage that makes it feel like this is like a truly special part of this design, or I'm like, this is a thing that represents something else and therefore only looks like the thing and there's not much beyond it, you know? Also, I think I might have to add like spikes or something. But, okay. I think this guy will need work for sure. Thanks for listening today. I covered a lot. I hope you guys like the domain or affinity kind of concept, the potential new type, rock, paper, scissors, fourth thing, and then a fifth thing. We covered a lot. Honestly, it was a long stream. I don't think I would have covered that stuff had I not finished the little ant guy so quickly. So he really worked out, and I think that's why I had a lot of time to do this, you know? But all right, cool. Guys, make sure you leave a like if you haven't already. I will see you tomorrow for a new stream. It will be for the hyena. So it should be a fun and really cool design. I hope you look forward to it. I will see you all tomorrow. You guys take care. Let's have a wonderful night and have a wonderful day tomorrow. Take care and peace.